The concrete jungle. The angel sun warns of spring, fresh hairs of growth returning green, birds, early blossoms to gardens in dire need of new roses. Eager for re-entry into college, dreams again of school. They asked me, "What religion are you?" I said, "All and none of them," laughing inside at the puzzlement on their faces. She asked me, "What happened out there to make you so different?" I said, "I've seen it stranger. I've stayed among people who create art all day. It's their work and play. And then they celebrate nights in a sweat lodge by the moon-sautéed river. I've seen the angel sun deep rim the wide expanse of Pacific Ocean, hug the horizon, and then crash dead red in burning view. I watched the Yellowstone River fall from towering heights, sacrificing itself into a spectrum of rainbow hues, dashing and smoothing ancient moss-caked rocks lying in wait far below. I spent my winters in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where the Snake River scissors past the dormant pose of sleeping Indian, a mountain of portrait carved to canyon cliff, sharp wind-raw reserves hailed as national treasure. I've done ceremony where the redwoods stand old and glorious, dwarfing ancient forests, steamy in spider morning dew. I've dug crystals in Mount Ida near Arkansas, where the land is thickly laden with fine veins of scattered points, everywhere clusters so giving of themselves. I've been to the northern rim of the Grand Canyon in Arizona, looked out over the edge of deep canyon abyss, seen labyrinth mountains walled by the deep indention of slithering sliver, a ribbon river, still cutting away terraces, puzzled over jigsaw chasms. They'll never know what they had to give for a so-called education, the things we've been taught and the things we think we know, book-angle views, opinions formed from words other than our own. Where are the new prophets to forecast the next legacy of this tale? Find out and then compare words with others, sharing their own. In youthful innocence, we conquered mountains, climbing the highest trees. Immortal, we pushed into frontiers anew, eager for the unfound fruits of life. Now words and film define our lives, being all we choose to see. We lose ourselves in false worlds. Reality, can this be? I praise the Most High that I know different and better. I'll play out this role, pass on this dream, smiling in wait for new reward. Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. That was a poem from my third book, A Different Way of Being. It's called The Concrete Jungle. And the reason I shared it today is because it's going to fit into what I'm going to be talking about as far as the particular wisdom text, which is called the Wisdom of the Ages. And I'm going to share a link with you where you can find it and kind of follow along. We're going to read what we can and share commentary and speak about this particular text. And also I want to let you know that it is supposedly one of those channeled texts from automatic writing. And of course, I don't give any kind of credence to that kind of, the way that kind of information comes to light, especially because I know that the fallen angels have created and led many individuals in producing such works. One of the most famous is a book series called Conversations with God, which has a really nice title, and it has a lot of really important and interesting information in it, and it also does align with a lot of things as far as the way that energy works and manifestation, how we influence and create and through our intent affect the circumstances of our reality, and how to bring an idea into manifestation and things like of that sort. And it tells you a lot of really good things, but then it will deny Christ as Savior, Messiah, and the only way, and it will, takes on that New Age gloss as to that all the religions are different spokes of the same path, and they all lead to center, which is somewhat true, but only in that there is underlying truth behind all religions. However, most of the pagan religions that were created by the fallen angels have that 97% truth, and then 3% disinformation, where they, of course, lead you astray. And the three major things that they will do is, first, they will deny Christ as the only begotten Son of God, and they will appeal to our sense of greatness and say that we are all the Christ ourselves, even though, we have the spark of divinity within us, and that we have a connecting link with the Creator, but we are not the Son of God in that we are the only begotten. We are sons of God in that we are angelic beings here having a human experience and caught up in flesh bodies. And Christ did come into the flesh, but He and the Most High, the Father and the Holy Spirit, are one together, and that's the difference. He pre-existed and also was the Word that spoke into being not only the creation, but we as the angels that were part of what was the early manifestation of the creation. And so, and then the other thing is that a lot of times the New Age belief systems, New Age teachings will say that the angels or the ancient aliens are the creators of humanity, and they deny that that the Most High and the Word, Yahushua, Christ, was the one that created us. And another thing that I want to touch upon, since I did mention the Conversations of God series, is that they say that we are all going to ascend to what will be the golden age or the new age together, and that no one gets left behind, and that there's no judgment, and also that we cycle through life and being, and that we are basically being reborn over and over until we get it right, which is another premise that completely nullifies judgment and responsibility while we're here in the flesh. And Hebrews 9, verse 27, that says, we live one time and then judgment. Okay, that being said, before we go into this particular text, which is very interesting to say the least, and I do think there are books out there that are guided and directed, even the Holy Bible. It speaks about in the Word itself that the prophets and the patriarchs were led to write what they wrote and to also give prophetic utterance in the way that they did to the way that the Bible was written. And confirmation and verification of that is the work of Ivan Panin, who found a mathematical code which repeats in its numerical encoding the number 7, which is the number of completion. Like the 7 days of creation, even the musical scale and the spectrum of light has the 7 built into it. Day of Sabbath, all those things. You can look that up for yourself if you want to find more information as to the significance of 7. I mentioned that also in my book, Skyfall, The Angels of Destiny, because when I was led to the Bible code of Cain being, a son of the devil, and also confirmation as to his being a fruit of that tree, and Esau and goat and all that being connected to the same thing, that when I searched and found that Bible code, there were actually 7 matrices overlaying the gospel, and that they began in Genesis 3, where the whole metaphor, the symbology of the eating of the fruit, which, I believe and absolutely know at this point, is connected to the beguilement of Eve and her impregnation with Cain, and that is the way to unlock and decode that particular happening. And those matrices begin with Genesis chapter 3 and go to Ephesians chapter 6, which we know is most known for the passage where it speaks about how we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, the rulers of darkness, not of this world, wickedness in high places. And so to me, that is absolute confirmation as to the validity of the premise that I put forth in the work of my 4th book, Lucifer, Father of Cain. Also want to make an announcement that pretty soon I will be receiving the 2nd edition of Lucifer, Father of Cain, which includes, and I've added 40 plus pages to this particular text, and also changed and mended a lot of things within the body of the work, and that I'm going to allow the Prophecy Club to have exclusive release of this edition for a while, but then afterwards I'm going to have a one-time sale on this edition and make it available to the public at a reduced cost, which will be better than any deal that you're going to find out there. Just to kind of thank all of you out there, and to also give you the opportunity, should you want to share it with whoever you would want to share it with. Also, I'll sign it and personalize it free of charge. But I am going to do that, and I'll let you know in the course of the radio show at some point when I plan on doing that. But there's so much more information in the text that I think it would be beneficial even for those of you that have read the first edition to acquire and to read the second, because as I said, there's just so much new information and other confirmations. Like I did include the chapter 15 of what is part of my new book, Skyfall, where I talk about what I just mentioned as far as the finding of that Bible code and the 7 matrices, and also the interpretation of those matrices. And also I include the information about the 3-strand DNA and the how the elites believe and know that they are from the coupling of Cain and Lucifer, and that Adam is not their father. And I've mentioned this on other radio shows and shared it with all of you. Hello, Jose and Jazz and Nancy and Wright and all those that are guests with numbers. I appreciate all of you joining us, and I'm sure that many other listeners will be joining us soon as well. But I just want to thank those of you that have been longtime listeners, and to give you the opportunity. And this will be before Christmas that I will do this. So if you choose to, you can pass these on at a very cheap, greatly reduced rate. I'm basically going to be providing them to you at cost, and also signing them for free. And so, no, Jazz, you haven't missed a link yet, but I will go ahead and post a link to the text that I'm going to be covering here in the chat room. It's called The Wisdom of the Ages. But before we go into this text, I want to cover one news article. And also, Jose, if you did want me to do a show with you, I know I had promised you that I would do that. Just let me know, and we'll pick a date, and I'll do that with you. All right. Now, the article that I want to cover, I just posted on fallenangels.tv today. Oh, and I wanted to make one other thing. I'm going to actually bring up 2 news stories real quick, because even though I covered one of these stories on my Wednesday broadcast at Revolution Radio, where we reminisced about September 11th, because it was on September 10th that I did the radio program. And also, I apologize for those of you that are used to catching the Wednesday broadcast in archive, that right now Revolution Radio is having a problem with YouTube, and they deleted a large number of our past shows, and that they are not currently able to archive through them. And so there is no place right now to go for the archives of those shows. And so if you did want to, because I know a lot of you will like to, listen and rewind and write down the things that were mentioned so that you could, capture and cover the information in great detail. And when we do start to resume that, I will, let you know and start providing links for those archives. But as of right now, that is not happening. All right. Those of you that do follow the information and the blogs and the videos and the things that we upload on the fallenangels.tv website that are part of the member community there, you'll know that when Joan Rivers first was announced as having died suddenly after a regular procedure that was to be done for her, that I posted a video on the video section of the website that said, "Was Joan Rivers killed for this?" And the link was to a video of her speaking to somebody who had asked her a question as to when we would have our first sitting and elected gay president. And in that video, she commented that we already had a gay president, that Barack Obama was gay, and that everybody in Hollywood knew that Michelle Obama was a transsexual, that he was a transgender male named Michael something. And I had, previously reported on this, and we discussed this in other shows, and I talked about it, not in, any great detail, but I did share this information with the listeners quite a long time ago. And so I was wondering as to the reason that Joan Rivers was murdered. As we know that there are a lot of blood rituals and sacrifices that happen in Hollywood, but with those people that sign these particular contracts, and that with their fame comes cost, that often they are, killed in such ways. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, those are just two examples, but many, many, dozens, hundreds, probably even thousands of individuals have been killed in such ways because of, being sacrificed. And so I want to read an article that I posted also on the Fallen Angels TV website that says this: Autopsy reveals Joan Rivers murdered. Air supply cut off by unapproved biopsy by a mysterious doctor. It's not very long. The article has also two links to two videos, so I do recommend people take a look at those videos. One is with an individual, Ryan O'Neill, who talks about how many people have been offed in this same way, Heath Ledger being one of those. But it says this: star whacking or something much bigger. This is a game changer from Dabu77. If you don't know who he is, he covers a lot of conspiracy issues on YouTube. The air supply to Joan Rivers was cut off by a surprise biopsy, confirming Rivers was murdered as believed by conspiracy theorists. This one is absolutely bizarre. Why would a doctor perform a non-approved operation upon Rivers, a biopsy that ended up killing her? Why are they not releasing the name of this mysterious doctor who came with Rivers' group? This one will blow your mind. Was this another case of a star being whacked or something much bigger? Was Joan Rivers murdered for calling out Michelle Obama as a transsexual and Barack Obama as gay, as Dabu and many others like myself ask? All links to info below video while The second video goes more into such star whacking from Hollywood star Randy Quaid, who drops major bombshells to silence those who don't believe the possibility that Rivers' murder was tied to such conspiracy. And this is, in fact, conspiracy reality. So do take a look at those videos. And yes, it is my belief that she was murdered for her stance and for her comment about Barack Obama and Michelle Obama or Michael Obama. And that, there's been many videos of people that have asked this same thing. And she says everybody in Hollywood knows. I mean, it's no big secret. Everybody knows, that Obama is gay too. We've had the testimony of Larry Sinclair going all the way back to when Barack Obama or Barry Soetoro was a sitting state senator in Illinois, and that he had an illicit affair with a male prostitute, Larry Sinclair, then, and that there were lawsuits about Obama and also rumors about him having affairs with individuals under Jeremiah Wright at that particular church, and possibly to the Reverend Jeremiah Wright himself, and that some of these people disappeared, and that they were silenced as far as being able to share their stories. All right. Now, the other information that I wanted to share was the main article on the Fallen Angels TV right now. And it says this: ISIS militant with an apparent U.S. Army tattoo. Now, somebody had, and this comes from Grendizer at Rising Truth 1 on Twitter. He posts on Twitter what is a picture of one of these ISIS militants who has his head covered by a black hood, of course, and he's riding in the back of a truck, and on his arm is a military tattoo that says the United States Army. And the reason that I emphasized and highlighted this particular photo is because of two other things, which I'm going to share now. And I'm going to read the article that I posted on the Fallen Angels TV website, which will give you further confirmation as to how ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, all these terrorist groups are funded by the United States and other countries, and that the New World Order uses controlled opposition to put minorities up against each other and to fund their Agenda 21 and New World Order agenda for depopulation, unending wars, etc., etc. All right, so I'm going to read the article that I posted real quick. It's not very long. Why is this picture so very important, and how does it pertain to two other questions listed below? Number one, why do Islamic terrorists wear black hoods to hide their faces? Number two, why did the U.S. Army recently ban tattoos in the military in areas where they can easily be visible? When one reaches or reads the article below, these questions will become obvious. Oh, just so you know, I posted this on beforeitsnews.com as well. This is actually my first post. I don't usually take the time to do it, but I thought it was relevant enough to actually do that. So it says this: when one reads the article below, these questions will become obvious, hopefully. Those of you that don't get it, just message me for explanation. Now let's reminisce. Some of you may recall this article released near or on September 20th, 2005, that says British Special Forces were caught carrying out staged terror in Iraq. The link below has a lot of information on this reference and from myriad of sources. These two pieces just confirm the modus operandi of the New World Order: divide and conquer, use minorities to incite war, fund and profit at the expense of both sides. Also supports the satanic demand for blood through ritual, which is war, and agenda for depopulation, the slaughter of innocents, and the creation of more radical elements. Because a lot of these individuals, like the drone strikes on Afghani families, when you kill off a person's, and leaving them the only person of their family alive, a lot of times they're going to join these radical elements, these different terrorist groups, in order to try to get revenge. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit from the article just to give you an idea as to what it says, and then catch you up with this story so you'll know how it is that America, the UK, other countries, how they fund, create the terrorist elements in order to use them as the boogeyman, as I've been saying for years now, to pull out the jack-in-the-box and then use it as a pretext or context for war, the funding of, like Homeland Security, or to impose, like where Obama has declared, even with the recent speech against, declaring that he's going to go after ISIS no matter where they're at, even if we have to, go into Pakistan or some of these countries, which is a breach of their national sovereignty, that we're going to do what it takes. And, this is one of the ways that they give their reason to do that. And then, Obama saying that he can do this even without Congress's approval, which is an impeachable offense. But, we're so used to it now. Bush did the same thing, and that Congress has no spine and is basically bought off anyways, that this is what we're dealing with. We are basically under a kingship, a return to monarchy, and this has been a long, long time ago that this has been like this. All right, so reading the article just to give you an idea. British soldiers have been caught posing as Arabs and shooting Iraqis in the occupied city of Basra in southern Iraq. A group of them was caught yesterday by Iraqi police. They were driving an Iraqi car wearing Arab clothing and carrying weapons and explosives. The Iraqi police were patrolling the area looking for suspected terrorists or insurgents, and they noticed that the men were acting suspiciously. Suddenly, without warning, the suspicious men started shooting at people, but the new Iraqi security forces managed to capture some of them before they could escape. Obviously, if these men had not been caught, the mass media would now be reporting the incident as just another attempt by evil terrorists to create civil war in Iraq. All right, a little bit of the article. There have been a number of incidents in this area and throughout Iraq in which police and civilians have been targeted and killed by terrorists or insurgents, but this is the first time that any of those responsible have been caught in the act, and it is now that at least some of them are for the occupying forces, as many Iraqis have openly suspected all along. A few days ago, in a statement unreported in the corporate mass media, Iran's most senior military officials specifically linked the instability in Iraq with agents of the U.S. and its allies. We have information that the insecurity has its roots in the activities of America and Israeli spies. The post-war violence in Iraq has always been blamed on Islamic extremists or rival ethnic factions, yet in the country nothing like this has ever happened before. The problem began precisely when the U.S. and U.K. seized control through the invasion of Iraq. Just a couple more paragraphs and then I'll share commentary. And then we'll go into the text that we're here to discuss today. But I think this is relevant enough to at least, cover it briefly. The Iraqi police arrested the men and put them in prison. Unfortunately, the police never had a chance to question the men and find out exactly what they were doing, because within minutes the UK sent in 6 tanks and an elite SAS unit to break their terrorists out of jail. During the illegal prison break, Iraqi officials were held at gunpoint, much of the jail was demolished, and all of the other criminals and insurgents were also set free. The U.S. and U.K. do not hesitate to use violence and terror to achieve their objectives, no matter what the consequences. The official explanation for the illegal jailbreak is that somebody thought the British men might be taken away by a gang of Iraqi resistance fighters and never seen again. This is blatant nonsense, of course, because the entire prison was surrounded by British tanks and troops. With the full force of the British military at hand, the terrorists were rescued quickly and easily. All right, I think that's about all I need to read. And that this particular article was sourced from The Guardian. The name of the article, British Tanks Storm Basra Jail to Free Undercover Soldiers. Front page, September 20th, 2005. All right. This is just further confirmation. Welcome, Peace. Good to see you, sister. But this is just, further confirmation. The, photo of this ISIS insurgent that had an American tattoo that said the U.S. United States Army. It's the same thing with the 2005 article that talks about how these so-called insurgents, or these terrorist elements in Iraq, how they were caught blowing up, and they were attacking actually a police station and inciting civil unrest and trying to start a civil war between the Shia and the Sunni, which they were actually successful in doing, because Iraq was then split into 3 provinces based on ethnicity. The Kurds gained access to and control of northern Iraq, and then the Sunni and Shia, the rest of Iraq, was split into 2 divisions. And that there was a lot of ethnic cleansing and also blood spilled because of the inciting of a civil war in Iraq. And that this has been the modus operandi for the New World Order going back hundreds, even thousands of years, and that it has always worked. When they, the colonialism, when they first went into Africa, they, utilized minority groups that had been oppressed to take over the other side or the other forces, and that they would arm and fund them, and that these 2 different minorities and these the tension between these ethnic groups has always been used by the colonial powers, colonial forces, by the New World Order and such tyrannical expansion to have these groups slaughter themselves, and it saves the what are the boots on the ground, the military of the different colonial powers or the invading powers, and even with the Native Americans, that the same thing was done. Native American groups, we would hire scouts, the U.S. military, the Army, they would hire scouts from other native tribes and then use them to track down other peoples and kill them and slaughter them, find out information. I mean, it's always been the modus operandi of the New World Order to do such things, and it's worked. Why would they ever change? It is still working. They are able to get what they want. They're able to approve illegal wars and to create civil wars, even with the slaughter in Rwanda with the Tutsis and I forget the other group, but these kind of things, when such slaughters, even with the Bosnian War, the Serbs, same thing. You'll find if you look at, even with the way that they have set up with North Korea and South Korea, with different, creating two sides when it used to be just one people, that these kind of divisions are fostered, hatred is incited, so that even here in America with the Republicans and the Democrats, same kind of thing has been going on for a very, very long time. And so I just wanted to highlight this particular article just to give you an idea and to give you confirmation, because the Bible says, out of the mouths of two or three witnesses shall the truth be established. And this is just, further confirmation as to how the New World Order does it, and how they, covertly incite the madness, create the chaos, and so just keep that in mind, because they're going to be doing the same things here in America with, funding groups and then claiming that constitutionalists or patriots or Christians, that we're the evil element. They're militarizing the police. They're teaching the police to shoot even children. The Department of Homeland Security hired those targets that were in the shape of children and women and Christians, patriots. They're trying to teach these groups to get them used to killing innocents and trying to get them acclimated to such slaughter. And so this is the way that it's been done. It's worked for them, and that's the way they're going to continue it. P says there's no new thing under the sun. That which was is that which is, and this is absolutely true. All right. So we're going to go ahead and go into the text that I wanted to share. I had talked to you about how this is a automatic writing, and that I covered a long time ago a book called Oahspe, Oahspe, which also has a lot of really incredible and important information. I have not read this whole book, so I'm not going to comment one way or the other. But, just as I said that the Bible has been inspired not through automatic writing, but that prophets and patriarchs have been led to pen things the way that they have, so that the information would get to us in the way that it has, and that things such as the Nag Hammadi codices and also the Dead Sea Scrolls, that they were written down thousands of years ago, and that they were also preserved in order that we, as the final generation, would benefit from such texts and from being able to look back at things that were from the 1st, 2nd century CE, even with the Targumic texts and the Aramaic translations of the original Hebrew Torah. All of that, I believe, was to give us confirming witness as to not only the veracity of the gospel, but also the original intention of the Most High, and in penning it, writing it down in the way that it was so long ago. All right, so we're going to go in and go ahead and start reading some of this, and then I'll share commentary. But you'll find, as we're reading through these first, few pages of this and talking about it, that this information seems to align with not only the esoteric aspects of the Bible and those things that are shared and revealed through the extra biblical texts, like we covered in the Wisdom of Solomon last week, the differences between the righteous and the elect, and those that were the naysayers and those that followed the way of Satan, to do as thou wilt, that wanted to be as gods themselves, that chose to indulge in the carnal aspects of world and to overindulge in the pleasures, to do it as they wanted to not follow the commandments, that disregarded the kindness and honoring their fathers and their mothers, and not being liars and murderers and deceivers and things of that sort, that like Satan and also the patriarch of their lineage, Cain, they were murderers and liars and deceivers, and that they denied a judgment, denied an afterlife, as Cain did. In the book of Jasher, there's great emphasis on this as being one of the reasons why he killed Abel, his brother, was because of the denial, his denial of a judgment, and Abel's assertion that the righteous would be rewarded, and that doing good there would be benefit for behaving in such way and to following the commandments in the way that we have them now. So we'll read through this text and then I'll share commentary. And again, I'm not in any way saying what I'm about to read is inspired, especially, it's from automatic writing or whatever. But it seems to resonate with a lot of the information that is contained within the old, new, extra biblical, extra canonical text, and especially with the Dead Sea Scrolls and Nag Hammadi codices. It says this: Tertullian spake unto the multitude and said, Inasmuch as ye are led by the desire to gratify selfish propensities, are ye excluded from the higher light, which is the natural birthright of every soul. Be ye seekers after the higher truths of the Spirit, not content with the vain babblings of men who are puffed up with their own self-conceits. He that overcomes the flesh, not by crucifixion, and mortification, but by sublimation that leadeth to the complete purification of this house in which spirit dwells, shall become a leader among men, and shall know all things in heaven and earth. I would also make mention that Peace 333, our sister Joan, who is in the chat room now, she just did a show previous to mine where she talked about some of these things and how and why it is that we place emphasis on that of the Spirit, how in Romans chapter 9 it emphasizes the things of the Spirit, to not love the flesh, not to align with the flesh, not to want to indulge in the carnal aspects of this life, but to put a focus on the priorities, the kingdom, to make a priority of the kingdom, and why it is that we should live for our eternal inheritance, and to count salvation, truth, goodness as being important and more important than the the aspects and the desires of the flesh. And so check out her show as well. It's on this topic. Knowledge is not always gained of books. This will align with the poem that I shared before, The Concrete Jungle, where I talked about how it's, the book angle views, opinions formed from that of others instead of our own. All those things that a lot of times knowledge is gained from life and experience, from seeking inspiration from nature and from a direct revelation of the Creator, from relationship with the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. All right. Knowledge is not always gained of books, for oft times these are misleading and unsatisfactory. Spirit must speak to spirit, and soul must vibrate responsive to the inner harmonies of the universe of God. He who seeks of the Spirit shall find the royal road that leadeth to the great garner house, where is stored the rich fruitage of the ages. Be not deceived of men who occupy the chief seats in the synagogues and universities of the outer world, for these are puffed up with their own self-conceits. This reminds me of the passage in Matthew where Christ is speaking about don't be, those that sit at the head of the table, and how the Pharisees and the Sadducees are dirty inside, even though they try to give outward appearance of being clean, and how they are filthy on the inner. It's that same kind of symbology. And you'll see this reflected in, in the gospel. The things that are being talked about and revealed in this text you'll find alignment in how they parallel a lot of things that are written not only in the canonical text, the Old and New Testament, but also in books like the Gospel of Thomas the Contender, which is 100 plus verses of sayings, of like parables and prophetic utterances, sayings that are, just like how he used parables to bring home a message and to relate to us deeper, more profound significance, stories that have deeper significance. They conceive of theories, then search the universe that they may find facts that seem to prove their verity. They go no deeper than the outer husk of the external universe. Like children, they play with these cast-off shells. Out of these things are builded the sciences and religions of the world. 1 second. The teachings of the great masters have been misunderstood and misapplied. The world has been too engrossed with material things to read aright the lessons given. Only the things of the Spirit are permanent. All outward things are transitory and fleeting. Vain pomp and glory of the world without life, ye flaunt your gaudy rags before eyes whose spiritual vision is sealed. Ye have no dominion over him who is baptized of the Spirit. He rises glorified and exalted into the atmosphere of gods. He reflects no light of sun or star, but glows and shines with the inexhaustible light of Spirit. I'll also just know that the passage about he rises glorified, exalted into the atmosphere of gods, that we know these gods with a little g are the sons of God or the angels, specifically because it talks about how Satan is the prince of the air, and that a lot of times the demons and also the fallen angels, they are spoken about as being within the atmosphere, and that their place of habitation is within the atmosphere surrounding the earth, and that's why they're also called, Satan is alluded to as being the prince of the air, that the demons have their place of habitation in the heavens below the upper heavens 7 through 10, and reign in the lower heavens. Even in the book of Enoch, I believe it was 2 Enoch, where Enoch is taken up through the 10 heavens, that when he reaches the first or second heaven, he sees the Grigori and how they are all sad and gloomy, and that the angel that is leading him, I believe it's Gabriel that is leading them up into the 10 heavens to bring him before the Word, or the Son of the Most High, who we know as the Word, the visible embodiment of God the Father. But he's shown how the Grigori are sad because they are excluded from salvation for their taking of wives, and just like with the Watchers, and also the rebel angels, for wanting to be as gods themselves, to rule in kingdoms of their own, and that they were cast out. And this is before the creation of humanity. And then after the creation of humanity, modern humanity, it was that the Watchers, for lusting after the daughters of humanity, or the daughters of Cain, that they were cast out. All right, let me check the chat room real quick. If you do have questions about anything, please do list them in the chat room, and I will try to answer them. All right, continuing. He acknowledges no leadership, either of book, car, man, but follows the star of his own destiny. To him is given the broadest liberty, for the wings of his spirit at last have been unfettered. And now they cleave the ethers of infinite space. The glory of the rapidly dying East, the wealth of El Dorados, flicker, fade, and are lost in this newer glory and wealth of the Spirit, exhaustless and undying. I that speak unto ye am as deathless as the unspeakable one. I assist at the birth of worlds and universes. I am my own star of destiny. What I am ye also may become. Through the gateway of suffering and poverty, you must be led until the Spirit asserts itself. Know then your oneness with the infinite, and claim the royal birthright that is thine inheritance. Page 2. Which you'll see, now that you're following along, how interesting the text is, and how it seems to align in so many ways with the information that we find in the biblical scriptures, in those texts. As well. All right, page 2. When the faithful ones were gathered together, Zertalum appeared in their midst and said unto them, Let peace and love abide ever in your midst. For without peace there can be no true spiritual growth. It is the foundation upon which all truth rests. Discord and war are great shadows that shut out the light of Om, the infinite. Now, you know that Om, as they call the Most High or the Great Mystery, in this particular text, that a lot of the Buddhists or the Hindus or people that pray or meditate, they say that that is the sound of the universe, and how they claim that there's a background sound that is found within the universe, and that sound is Om. Now, I'm not saying that this is, what the, why it is that they use this name in this text, but I just thought that was an interesting correlation. All right, let me get a sip of water here real quick, and then my gospel is one of peace. Although at first it might seem to bring discord into the world, for it shall separate families and break many of the ties that the world calls sacred. This is the same thing that Christ said when he said that, it would divide peoples and families. Peace cometh not by conforming to the outward usages of the world, but by seeking the way of the Spirit, that leadeth to a more perfect life. Wealth and outward prosperity, the inordinate desire for gain, these bring neither peace nor love to the world. Instead, they foster the spirit of unrest and develop in man the selfish propensities. No man has ownership in material things. Houses, lands, books, and other properties are loaned him for his use. Not even does he own the body he occupies. This is loaned him for a season. But when Om, who is the Great Spirit, the Most High, calls the spirit hence, he needs must return the body to the great reservoir from whence, at the bidding of his spirit, it was called. War is inevitable when man seizes more of this world's goods than he can utilize. Peace comes when he takes that which he can use for his other's good. The earth is alms, and the fruits thereof are for the sustenance of his children. There should be no private ownership in land, but a portion should be set apart by wise leaders, sacred to the uses of each individual. Remember, O my disciples, that ye are not of this world of selfish, discordant, sensual men, for ye have been called to the higher life, where peace reigns evermore. Ye are bound by indissoluble chains of love, and not by the bonds of the flesh, or avarice, of selfishness, and of passion, wherewith the people of the outer world are bound. Love knows no evil, and only seeks to bless all. I would not condemn those who have not the light of the Spirit, and walk by the uncertain light of the flesh alone. They are Atmar, ones who have not awakened to the newer light of the Spirit. They are neither to be condemned nor pitied. They are walking where ye walked ages ago. The divine spark will yet be kindled upon the altar of their souls, and then the path of the Spirit will be made plain and clear to them. I want to share a comment here, because this is also something that all of us have had to learn to do, something that a lot of people struggle with when they first come to awakening, when they are first led to truth and discernment, and desire more than anything, want to share that with their friends and their family members, with their loved ones. And I was the same way when I first awakened, and it was, not initially to the biblical truths or the prophecy contained within the gospel, but my first awakening had to do with 9/11 and the fact that, all the presidents and a lot of the presidents, prime ministers, the royals that sit on the thrones of the world of today, that they are blood related. That when I first learned these things, it consumed me. I mean, I spent my every waking moment wanting to learn more, driving myself to seek out everything I could about government-sponsored terror and 9/11 and, everything to do with all those things, even with the Oklahoma City bombing and the different terrorist events and the New World Order, the way all the documents, a report from Iron Mountain, this and that, and so I spent all my time reading articles and listening to what few shows there were out there at that time about such things, and watching videos that were just now starting to be created about such topics and such issues. And everybody that I talked to, I didn't feel like anything else was worthy of discussion. I was like, people that, watching just nonsensical, like comedies or horror movies or things of that nature, I thought that was a complete waste of time. why people wouldn't use their moments and their days to study and research all this critical information was beyond me. And all I wanted to, when I talked to friends or family members, loved ones, it's all I wanted to talk about. And I literally wanted to shake them by their shoulders and tell them, all that is meaningless. Everything that you're saying is worthless. Let's talk about this. Or don't you know about 9/11? Don't you want to know about this thing or that thing? And what I had to learn over time, and it took me a while, was that we have to honor people for where they are. Because until they are ready, they simply are just not going to listen. And that the more you try to pound this in and to bring this stuff home, the more hesitant and the more they're going to rebel. And also the more they're going to think you're just absolutely crazy. And that you have simply lost it. And the further and the further they're going to get from you, as far as if they used to be good friends or close family members, that they don't want to hear it. They don't care anything about it. And they don't believe it has any importance at all. That really, to them, it seems like a full waste of time. And why anybody would want to learn about such craziness, they think we're the ones that are crazy and that are wasting our time. And so, honor people for where they are, even though we know these are the most important issues of our lives and the things that we all should be really wanting to know and really into. Most of the world, they are not going to be part of the awake and the aware. Most are completely satisfied with the carnal aspects of the world, with indulging in pleasure or being led astray and distracted by entertainment and the things of the things that everybody else in the world holds important. And the focus on materialism or love or sex or their cars, whatever, jewelry, money, school, whatever it is. And so they have no concern, no care for the things of the Spirit, and they don't even have an idea of what the kingdom is or what making a priority of the kingdom consists of. They're not true born again. True born again Christians are few and far in between. All right, continuing because I know we're going to run out of time. Hold condemnation for no man. Be not so conceited as to think ye are higher or wiser than others. The veil has simply become thin between your eyes and the infinite Om. As brothers, commune together and enjoy the serenity of a pure and noble life. Walk among men, imparting of your peace and love to those in need, and your influence for good shall be felt afar in the world. Then shall thy soul become as sweet and fragrant as the air of morning, and peace and love the wings that bear thee onward, and circling spheres of light. This reminds me of the Ezekiel 33, the parable of the watchman, and how we are to sound the trumpet and to give warning, and that is our responsibility. But whether people choose to hear the warning and act upon it, well, that's their choice. All we can do is, blow the trumpet. Purple and gold are the mountains of Sebastha unto. Above hang weary billows of golden fleece, for he that giveth life to all terrestrial things, mighty Tha, sleeps in the chamber of the west. The valleys are filled with purple mist and gloom, for the arrows of Tha, whatever that is, no longer speed on their course. The might winds laden with the night winds, laden with the heavy perfume of 1,000 plants, soothe the restless breast of man, and seal down his eyelids with a kiss. Sleep, the shadow of death, is broad in the land, and all is quiet, save the shrill note of the night bird and the voices of innumerable insects. Behold the grandeur of the heavens, the crown that Om wears sparkling with innumerable gems. The soul is filled with awe and reverence at the majesty of the scene. All that the natural eye beholds pales into insignificance before the illimitable depths and numberless globes of amethyst, purple, and gold that burst upon the bewildered vision of the spirit. Who made these chariots of fire that circle forever the throne of the Infinite One? Ever on and on, from chaos to nebula, from nebula to suns, from suns to worlds. Who, the mighty sculptor that shaped the endless variety of forms? Who, the mighty artist with brush dipped in molten colors, made the heavens shine with new lights unknown before? What mighty musician gave to each star and sun its keynote, and made the heavens vocal with a new song, voicing the majesty and the glory of the one everlasting Om? The heavens give answer. Our Creator is Spirit. Archangels are the servants of Om. They, the framers and the builders of the universe. They, the sculptors, artists, musicians, incomparable. In their hands chaos assumes form. The lightnings are their playthings. All the mighty and subtle forces obey the mandates of their wills. They make the pathways for circling spheres of fire. They determine when worlds shall be born out of these spheres, and shape and fashion them into things of exquisite beauty. Their work completed, angels of light are placed over them and become the masters of their destiny. Innumerable spirits do the bidding of these angels, and thus from angels to spirits, and from spirits to man, terrestrial, throbs and beats forever the life that is that of the Eternal One. One life in all and through all, one purpose, that of the divine will, pulsates in every atom, making through all a most perfect undertone of harmony. Purple and gold are the monuments of Sebasthauntu, as the shades of evening settle over the earth. Peace, sweet peace, spreads her wings over all, and the questioning spirit of man rests where it takes again its upward flight. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to just make a comment and speak about, and then we'll do another show, because I think it's an interesting text, and I think it has relevance to who we are and why we're here, and it gives reminders of the esoteric aspects of the gospel, pre-existence, predestination. It talks about how we have that divinity, that spark within us that is Christ, what people call the Christ consciousness. The thing that gives our body warmth, that gives light to our eyes, that gives heat to our breath, that is the spark of divinity, that aspect, the co-creative aspect of our spirit, the breath of life that was given to Adam, that animated his body, that made his flesh rise. That is who we truly are. The part of us that leaves our flesh when we go to sleep in dreams, that aspect of us that returns home when our bodies die and we are released from the bondage of this plane and this existence. That aspect is who we truly are, and it's that part of us that is eternal, immortal, and that will go on to either paradise and the rewards of it, or to condemnation and to the evils of that. And that's why it is that, for the atheists and those that deny a judgment or deny anything beyond the grave or anything beyond our flesh lives and our flesh being, how people can deny furtherance and continuance is beyond me. But, so many people are still confused as to what goes on beyond and who we truly are. And, that's why I think it's important to study those aspects of Scripture that speak about who we are and why we're here and what all of life is about. Because it's not about just getting an education and getting a good job and making money so we can accumulate a bunch of things, or living for the flesh, finding a spouse, having children, leaving a legacy of inheritance so that your name can continue on. Even though, yes, that's a part of this life and the fleshly aspects of it, it certainly is not the most important aspects of who we are and why we're here. That the most important aspects have to do with our spirits and with our internal inheritance and with the salvation that is guaranteed for us through Christ as being the way and the truth and the life. And so we'll follow up next week. I just thank all of you for joining me. I pray for you and your families, your loved ones, your children, every day in my prayers when I'm praying over my meals or asking the Most High to bless the water that I'm going to drink, or just giving thanks in the morning for a new day and for breathing in the fresh air and being able to be witness to the beauty of the grand parade, the soft parade of creation and its unfolding. I pray for you as I pray for myself. God bless all. In the Most High, in Yahuwah and Yahushua's name.